We should be going. All right. This is the Planning Commission meeting to be held in the Common Council Chambers, City Hall, Greenfield, Room 100, excuse me, in Greenfield. Would you please call the roll? It's Tuesday, March 10th, 2020 at 6 p.m. Would you please call the roll?
Mayor Knightsky,
Present.
Denise Collins,
Present.
Michael Braswell,
Present.
Brian Weiss,
Present.
Christine Helene,
Present.
Don Carlson,
Present.
Bob Krenz.
Just as a housekeeping issue, Alderperson Kastner's excused, as is Commissioner Rogers. Alternates Braswell and Krentz are both voting members this evening. Okay. Item 3, discussion regarding the last Common Council meetings.
Oh, two.
Oh, did I miss that?
Yeah, the minutes.
I'm sorry. Item 2, approval of the minutes from the February 11th, 2020 meeting.
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion was made by Collins, second by Helene.
Sure.
The other
Was it
way
vice
around.
for? I'm
The other way
still at my last meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Yeah,
Motion.
I'll abstain, I wasn't at the last one.
Commissioner Carlson abstains. Item 3, discussion regarding last Common Council meetings.
We had 3 items for public hearing: the rezoning for the rehab hospital on 103rd in Oklahoma, Bargain Thrift Mart, and Holistic Health and Hospice on Forest Home. All 3 of those were approved by the Common Council.
Okay, thank you. Been asked to move item 6 up, which is the certified survey map to divide an existing parcel at 10500 West Carpenter Avenue, submitted by Curtis L. Conrad, agent for Lloyd and Audrey Conrad Family Trust. Are you here this evening?
Yes.
Okay. I'd entertain a motion to approve the item as presented.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Alderperson Carlson, second by Commissioner Weiss. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. So we do go through all this stuff ahead of time, so it's not like we're just blasting.
Good.
Although we could go on more if you want. Okay. And that's what it was about right there.
That's what it was about.
Which made
3
complete
lots.
sense and was recommended by staff.
It was, yes.
I like them when they're easy like that.
Yeah. Me too.
Very easy like that. Okay, next, now, you want to do the other?
Can I just, I don't believe the owner, the applicant for number 7 is here.
Is anybody
Okay,
here
so
for
we can do
7?
that last. That's fine.
Okay.
We can go to
Then
4.
we'll go back to item 4,
Yes.
which is the site and architectural plans for construction of a parking slab at 6944 West Forest Home Avenue, submitted by Troy Poppy? Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a single parcel that used to be a residential home and is zoned C1 commercial. So it is zoned for commercial uses. What the owner is proposing is to incorporate a 36-foot by 24-foot parking slab, and also in the front here with a board-on-board fence so that any headlights that would face west would not be intruding into the multifamily residential use to the west. Staff is working with so currently there is a non-compliant contractor occupying this space. We're working with the owner to get that business, to find a different location for that business as it's not zoned appropriately. So not really up for discussion this evening, but just in case someone had noticed that it is occupied, we're working with them to find them a new place. So with that being said, there is no potential user per se at this point for this site, which is why staff didn't necessarily provide a recommendation. If the Plan Commission wishes to approve the parking and site modification, if you will, we just ask that we get a detailed landscaping plan and that the striping be shown on plans.
No, this is a different
No,
one.
this is a
Right.
different one.
That one was further down.
Yep. I have no issue with the concept of this, but it almost seems like we have the cart before the horse. We're not sure what the use and the needs are.
Do you want to?
Conceptually, I think it's fine, but I think we need more details with who the tenant's gonna be, things of that nature.
Yeah,
Yeah,
come
go
on up,
ahead.
come on up there.
I understand your question about that, and the issue I have with it right now is that we are gonna be moving out, and I wanna make it so that it's presentable to someone who would want to lease it or buy it from me as a C1 operation. The biggest issue with this property is its beautiful frontage on Forest Home Avenue. It has all the green space towards the east, which is the We Energy Fields, and it has a multifamily towards the west. There's no parking there because that whole side of Forest Home is no parking.
Parking zone, right.
And so my thought is it's gonna be more presentable to someone to run a business that fits the zoning better if they have a parking slab in the front there. In the back area, there's enough room for anyone to park at. But it would feel awkward if you opened up, let's say, a law firm there, or, I don't know, a massage place or something like that, where the customers would park in the back. When you park in the front there seems to be more room, and they can navigate better onto Forest Home Avenue.
Does it make sense just to have approved plans of city conceptually approved plans for parking in the front, so you don't endure the expense of it? And you'd still be able to sell the property?
And by that, you mean that we'd say that that brought this forward to the planning commission, and that if I sell the place to someone else, there are approved plans to put a parking slab in there?
There's approved plans conceptually.
Okay,
I mean, that would probably help,
yeah.
and it would probably save you some money.
Yeah, that would
Right.
be
The
nice.
thing is, a future owner may tweak it, and that's I think the staff's
Yeah.
comments of it, and I think our concerns with it, obviously, you'd want to put a parking slab in there, you need the parking there. Obviously, the driveway needs to be replaced, things of that nature, but again, depending on the use, they may have different configurations.
It may be a detriment to selling the property.
Okay,
So I'm fine with the conceptual use of it, I mean, it makes sense, put parking on it, how should it look based on the new tenant?
right. I only have it we were gonna use it in my mind, and so that's a good point.
Bring
that
it-
all right?
Bring it back to the plan commission when that user.
Yeah, I mean,
or-
the minutes should reflect that the planning commission gave this to consideration, right?
Right.
Does, conceptually has no objection to a parking lot
Yeah.
consistent with staff comments. And any future potential user could rely on those comments
Okay.
in the event that they want to make this a commercial property.
Okay,
Does that make sense?
yeah, that makes perfect sense. It helps me out, because
Yep.
it's something to say, the plan is in place.
Yeah.
And I think you're gonna find a friendly audience if you come back, when you sell it and here's the plans for it. Obviously, landscaping is key and just make it functional.
Yeah, yeah, and for a while there, it did not have much landscaping to the place, and it was an
Yep.
eyesore. And so we're trying to fix it up.
Sure.
So is it a business now? Is it used as a business, or is it a house or
It
residential?
is zoned as C1, and so the company that owns it, TQ, is just my company. And so it is a business entity, but it's not, it's just no wind right now, I think is the best thing to say. So I'm trying to make it fit the city's needs.
Okay, very good. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if that requires a motion or anything. The minutes can reflect
think
that,
so.
right?
Yep, I got it.
Perfect.
Okay, is that all right?
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for your time.
And if you do want to come back, just so you know, if you do want to come back and you want somehow to put a slab in because you've discovered a business or you have a business, her notes would be indicative. You have to have handicap parking, you have to have an approved site, an
Right.
idea of what the landscaping looks like and the site looks like, right?
Parking stripes on your plan, things of that nature.
That
Okay,
that kind
that's
of
easy
stuff.
enough.
Landscaping buffer for the neighbor?
There is no,
There is no real neighbor here.
Isn't there a two-family?
There's a much larger,
it's like
24
a
family.
major
Yeah.
apartment building with a pavement right up to the lot line, I think, right?
Even if you put that short fence there, it probably makes sense if he's putting the parking
I think any owner would want that there, actually.
for both people, both sides. Perfect, thank you.
Okay.
Thank
is
you
that
very
good?
much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Item 5, site landscaping architectural plans for BioLife Plasma Services. A proposed plasma collection center to be located at 7801 West Layton Avenue, submitted by Eric Drazkowski, hope I pronounced that properly, doing business as Excel Engineering, and Brian Westra of JCW Development.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This item was before the Plan Commission for conceptual review in December. This is the former Gulf Galaxy site. Just some condition pictures taken from in December. BioLife is proposing to occupy purchase and occupy this property. It is Zone C4. Their plasma donation use is a permitted use. So this evening, not necessarily discussing the use, but what we're here for is to review site and landscaping and architectural modifications that are proposed. With their need for the building, they'll actually cut the building in half. And what they'll have are about 60 donation beds. Their hours of operation will be 6 to 8, Monday through Saturday, and 8 to 5 on Sundays, and approximately 30 employees at one shift. So they have a higher demand for parking than what is on the site currently. So that's why they're proposing, part of the reason they're proposing to cut the building in half. They'll keep the front half. They're not meeting the parking, but again, it's a permitted use, so the code says one thing, but they do feel that there will be sufficient parking for their demand, for their users. But again, that's not something we're necessarily analyzing today because it's a permitted use. We're not really talking about the shortage of parking.
Well, we kind of are.
Well, but it's, I spoke with the city attorney about, because it's a permitted use, because there's a shortage, there's no denial based off of a shortage, whereas like a special use, you would waive the parking requirements. So that's just what I was saying.
You wouldn't be waiving,
We can't, no, it's a permitted use. That's the advantage of special uses is that, yeah. So what they are proposing is a new parking lot resurfacing and layout and the addition of new landscape islands in the front and in the back. They are constructing a refuse enclosure in the back, which is being constructed of split-face CMU block, so a durable material with a personnel door. There is a board-on-board fence in the south, along the south property line. You can see the picture on the left. They are replacing it with a new fence. We just need the specs for that, which was a condition in the staff report. And they are replacing light poles with new LED lights. And a photometric plan was supplied and reviewed by staff. So what you see before you is the rendering for a new facade. A new look to the building. You see the front, the north facade and the west facade in this rendering. And then we have the rear and the back portion of the west side of the building. And I'm just gonna kind of focus on each building elevation. What we see here is a thin-set brick veneer being applied to the front, new scoring ephes being painted, and then the addition of a lot of nice windows, aluminum glazed storefront windows. For the most part, I did work with the applicant on getting some spandrel glass windows. This is, I believe, a bathroom on the floor plan. It couldn't utilize fully functional windows, but at least we got the look. All that spandrel glass just means you can't see. It's glass. You have drywall behind it. So it's the look of a window. And then also the addition of quite a few windows along the west building elevation, new scoring on the top upper half, and then painted ephes. The back of the building is proposed to be painted split face, or the CMU block is going to be painted, and then the east elevation, which no one sees, there's a tree line along the east side, is also going to be painted. So this is the proposal that we saw in December for a conceptual plan. And then staff had asked to make the front symmetrical. And this was the extent of the building elevation that was provided to us. I had extensive conversations with Mr. Terrace, the developer, and explained that in December, the Plan Commission said, well, we'd like to see even more masonry product on the building than this. He had stated to me that this is a rendering actually for new construction, and we were under the impression that it was a retrofit rendering. And Mr. Terrace will speak more about that, but I'm just kind of explaining the whole story here. So this is what we saw in December. And with those conversations, and then also the Plan Commission had said, well, this is a really nice rendering, a good example in Bolingbrook that we would like to see something like this with articulation, varying roof lines, different angles, and The representative at the December meeting had stated, well, this is new construction. This is not a retrofit. So we, we did know that, but we said, well, just so you know, this is kind of the direction that the city would like to see. So with those conversations, I worked with Jeff and gave him just some screenshots I found from Googling, just some ideas on how to add variety and articulation to what is being presented before the Plan Commission this evening. So examples, maybe varying colors of brick, alternating or horizontal lines. There are different bump outs, adding, some text, I don't know what the word is I'm looking for. Dimension, thank you.
Mention.
Right.
Some dimension instead of a flat surface. Here you have like an old tired front of a mall entrance, and then, again, I'm not saying these are perfect examples, but the variation, just to give them some ideas, maybe different materials behind a sign rather than ephes, and again, just some varying colors that maybe Michael's is used twice here because Michael's, I think it's pretty common they do these retrofits. And so I tried to find some good examples maybe to steer in the direction that maybe the Plan Commission was looking for. With that being said, on page
So what does it look like?
page six,
What are they?
page 6 of the staff report, I listed some recommendations. So this is the proposal before the Plan Commission this evening. Page 6 lists 8 suggestions of ways to add modifications, to add variety to the proposal that you see before you.
So I can't remember which guys were here last month? Were either of you here last month? No. So so we're pretty like decent people for the most part, right?
Yeah, you didn't make that guy put a parking lot in that he's only gonna turn around and sell that.
Well, I mean, I try to be practical. So, I mean, we all live here and we have, the one thing that we kind of said last month was that it just needs to look good. Because it's and I think it's important for you to make it look good too, but this is essentially the one kick at the cat we get probably for another 20 or 30 years.
We hope.
And it kind of got worse.
Well,
Am I? I mean,
I guess
and I'm not trying to be facetious, and I'm not,
if I could speak a little bit to that, and I wasn't at the December meeting, but the gentleman, my peer, is no longer with the company. I've taken this project over from him. But when we came into the December meeting, our intention was to remove the front half of the building and put a new face on it. And we were told at that meeting that it was the city's preference for us to remove the back half of the building.
we don't care. I don't think we cared, right?
No, I mean, good planning pushes the buildings up front. So we said, well, that setback, she's talking about like slicing the building in half. That setback
I can
doesn't
understand that with forward parking.
fit Layton Avenue at all.
Yeah.
So with that, we are now reusing the front of the building and making changes to an existing front building as opposed to building a new building halfway back into to the existing building.
So you're removing the back half?
We are, at
Yeah,
the city's request.
There you go.
And so we're trying to make the existing front look as much as we can like what was discussed in December, without completely having to also rip off the front of the building.
And redo the structure theoretically.
So can
We're
you
good people too. And
No, I'm not.
we want
this
to
isn't-
work.
This
you
isn't
know,
supposed to be a
we're
confrontational
definitely want to
exercise.
work with
No.
what your vision of the project is.
All right.
For
do,
sure.
do you have a way to get Google Maps on there or not?
Sure.
Just, or maybe it's there already. I don't know. As one of the slides. I mean, the Bolingbrook thing looked really good, right? I mean,
This was the original December. This is kind of what they came back with. But again, in
do you have a picture of Bolingbrook?
just.
Just a little one.
We had up.
Doesn't that one look good? If you did that, we would just kind of,
Bolingbrook was built new from the ground up.
no, I understand, but
So, all,
by the
I
same
mean, what it
time-
looks like is all you did was just add pretty much that here, right? And what else is really different?
There's just,
So,
these are both from December.
right, okay.
Yeah.
In this case, this is the existing facade.
Right,
We're
see.
taking the peak off, and
Yeah.
we're putting new brick. This is all new brick. Which in just looking at it, I can't tell you specifically to the square foot, but I feel like this is at least as much brick as what you see on here. So I don't know where else you would like us to put brick, other than to brick the whole front, which was not what
I mean,
either side discussed in December.
yeah,
I think what is lacking, yes, you put brick in, and I don't disagree with you one iota on that, but it's more the depth and the. The depth and the different textures and the different, quite frankly, elements that we were looking for. Even some of the simple ones she showed with some of the Michaels and some of the other ones and yeah, obviously, no, but I'm just saying those are just examples of depth and alternating patterns and things of that nature. Unfortunately, this is a box, and it still is a box, and you can't change it from being a box. But you can add more to it.
Would it help if some of these brick elements were more dimensional? So not as flat against the wall, but maybe came out like piers?
I think that would help.
That would be something where we wouldn't necessarily have to add more brick other than just kind of on
and I don't
the
even,
sides. But if we
from my
had-
perspective, having a slab brick wall isn't necessarily what you need architecturally. I mean, as you get higher, you can use other materials.
Yep.
That would probably be less expensive maybe than brick. Just kind of add some architectural flavor to it. The thing that I liked about Bolingbrook, I don't know if you got that around somewhere.
There it is, 22.
That's not much different than what you have here, other than the windows, the span glass or whatever you call it in the front, right?
Well, the whole roof line's different on this one.
The roof line is different,
that's what pops in this building.
but you can create something, even if the rear roof line features weren't there, just in the center of the building to sort of create an entrance.
Yeah, and one thing this picture has that was actually recommended is the concrete cast window sills. Adds some dimension to the windows
Right.
too. You see the bottom.
just to bring it up a
that's
little bit,
sto-
right?
Yeah.
It's not,
There weren't concrete cast windowsills on either of the version of.
They're just examples to add.
well, we didn't like it last year. We kind of said,
I wasn't there, but.
No,
Right,
I-
yeah, so we,
it was like, it just needs to look good. It needs to look good.
The entryway I like with the,
The one I was just had up?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if these were more dimensional, if there was a sill under here, I mean, we did add a canopy over the entrance.
It's not a functional canopy though. You'll get wet underneath it.
No,
So
I can actually speak to that, if it's gonna be a functional canopy, one, as soon as you walk out from the functional canopy, you're gonna get wet anyways.
yeah.
But the main thing that's driving it is, it would have to be built to withstand a Wisconsin snow load.
Yep, there's lots of canopies in Wisconsin.
Structural cost back into the building that nobody's gonna see, but it's gonna cost. And we're also going to have to put roof drains on it that then tie into the existing storm sewer somewhere in the parking lot, so that this melting snow doesn't melt onto the parking lot and freeze and create a safety hazard. So,
And you're gonna have to sprinkle it,
really,
potentially.
A little canopy.
They sprinkle all this stuff all over.
I mean,
I'm saying,
I'll
so.
defer to the, yeah.
So,
But even like the suggestion of adding awning cables, I mean, that adds something more than just flatness
We're not opposed to the
to,
look of the canopy, we would just ask that it didn't have to be a solid roof functional canopy that would add all of that cost, but we could still give you the same look.
We just want it to look really good. No, that's not a joke, right? I mean, I know it sounds silly, but,
No, it doesn't sound
Yeah,
silly,
yeah.
I'm an engineer, I have a tough time quantifying really good.
yeah,
But I'm for it.
okay, so,
We need dimension in the front, so it's just not flat.
Okay.
and you can use other materials. It doesn't have to be
It does have to be brick.
look like an
Even-
old armory or something, right?
Even adding roof lines, some architectural to the roof.
So
You know,
this,
like Walgreens did the angled green roofs that they did
This
that
is
are
actually-
non-functional.
so much better than this one, right? Last
old
month's,
one.
the old one was better, and the old
Yes.
one needed improvement. It's almost like a,
Other than the awning, I think I like the awning on the new one. That element helps because you're adding a depth to it. Other than that, to me, it just, depth, elements, the concrete windowsills, even different materials, again, give a little pop to it, because right now it's a box, anything to dress it up. Unfortunately, you know, these things don't come around very often, so 10, 15, 20 years from now is to be the next time someone will do any change to this building, if at all.
and by the same token, there's a little bit more latitude, even though it is a permitted use. You're removing half of the permitted use and essentially creating a new structure out of it. And a new site and landscaping plan. So it is sort of, and I'm not, so just make it look good.
So if we left it exactly like it is,
It probably wouldn't do real well.
but could we do that?
that's your, do you mind, Jeff, just being in front of the microphone, just for the minutes? So, I mean, yeah, as Mr. Chair's brought up, their proposal before the Plan Commission this evening is, will you approve this building? And staff has 8
Well, I-
recommended
Well,
modifications
I think
to
the argument
that.
is, right, and this is something that we'd have to probably look at, and spend a lot of time looking at, right? If you left the existing building as it was, and with the new building, you're already deficient parking by 100 spots, and leaving the existing building as it is, you'd probably be deficient by about 150 spots. I think that's a problem, and I'm not sure whether or not it's permitted, you know, I mean, while there are permitted uses and non-permitted uses, certainly one that's so intensive as a retail establishment, when this was created, there was very little traffic at a Golf Galaxy, right? It was sort of designed to be a Golf Galaxy, and the parking reflected that. To have I mean, ultimately, we're responsible for the health and safety and the orderly, you know, planning of the city. I can't imagine that we would permit something to go into a space which is already so deficient in parking and allow it to remain even more deficient. I think the best thing to probably do is just make the front of the building look better, right? And then everybody's happier. Does that make sense?
It definitely makes sense. I'm completely with you. I guess I'd like a little bit more specific.
Does she work with you?
Yep.
She does, but she's not a designer. She's actually replacing the guy that was here in December.
So he was a designer though, kinda, right?
No,
What was he?
he's the Beaver Dam, Wisconsin Economic Development Officer.
Wow. I would, so we go through these things all the time.
Sure.
Right? I mean, we just went through about $150 million worth of elevations, and we have potentially another 50 or 100 million coming up. It's not complicated to go before an architect or a builder and say, you know, the city wants some architectural elements, and we want some other materials to create the kinds of contrasts and I can't do it either, honestly. I
But if your
just don't
designer-
when it looks
if your-
good, right?
if your Literally calls, works with staff, they'll give other examples of specific items that they've seen within the city that they'd like, and I'd say do a conference call with them and have that conversation. We're happy to help. I mean, we want it to look good as well. And
So
we want
can you
this to
just
be
go,
as
can
efficient
you
as
just go
possible.
back to the Bolingbrook thing? Just for a minute, right? And I understand it's new construction. But over the course of time, I've also learned that, how, so that's essentially a flat building in the front. Do you see that?
I don't like that.
So everything that you've just proposed, just forget about the stuff above the roof line, that horizontal roof line. Everything that's there on that face of that building could go on your building, generally speaking. It might be a little,
Already?
Huh?
I guess that's what I'm not understanding, isn't
The A does not look like B.
in even.
so, okay, so look at this building.
It doesn't,
And do you see that little thing on the top? I understand that's like an atrium with lighting and all that stuff, and I'm not suggesting that you have to put an atrium with lighting on. But I would think that there is some kind of architectural element that you could add in the center of that building that creates that kind of space or look.
What about some
So-
type of cornice around the bump out, so it's not just a rectangular,
That would be a good starting
like a
point.
crown molding cornice kind of element that puts a cap on that, and then if maybe we pulled the brick
So
out.
I'm not, like I said, I'm not real good at that, but probably something. But if you look at that picture and then look back at the other picture, I wish we could put them side by side.
I can.
If you were in my seat right now and you came, or I came before you, and I said, I have this one or I have that one. Which one would you pick?
Oh, I would pick the one on the bottom.
So
So do
see-
we.
So
The one on the bottom is a $7 million building.
we got that. But all we're asking is work with staff to improve some of the architectural elements, a little depth, some contrast to
So
it.
it's true that it's a $7 million building, but the front of the building was not $7 million.
No.
Not the whole building, right? We're talking about the facade, the front.
Yeah, the whole building was a 7 million, and I can tell, BioLife doesn't even build new ground-up buildings like that anymore.
Right.
But.
So
Question-
you're repurposing an old building, you're knocking off half of it, you're essentially building a concrete wall where the old in footings, I get that.
Question, since they're going back to look at the face of this, does it make sense to revisit removing the front versus the back? Again, we're willing to work with you, and I'm bringing that up just as a concept to saying, if you gotta remove half the building anyways, my preference, quite frankly, let's tear off the front of the building. Do I like them set back more? It's still gonna get set back more, but now we have a little more options because we're redoing the face. This is not, I mean, this is not acceptable what you presented. And again, we get it, and your job is to come with the least cost, the most cost-effective option. Is that worth looking at, saying, let's tear off the front and let's make the front look nice? Is that reasonable compromise, and if we can get to end the job on this?
Well, I mean, at this point, we're gonna have to redesign the site now. So, I mean, from a timing standpoint, now what does?
I'm
we
throwing
did
out
this
options to you.
At a request of the city back in December.
I get
It's
that.
March, and now the city's saying maybe go back to what you came in with.
Well, I'm helping you with options to say, again, we want you to save money, we don't want you to waste money, we want the building to look nice. I thought maybe this is a compromise that we get to end a job. And if you tell me that's impossible to do that, then let's look at how do we make this look a whole lot nicer than what you brought here today.
I'd rather do that.
What? Say what?
You'd rather keep it the way it is?
Then I'd
Keep the layout that we have now, and let's come up with.
That's fine.
Some ideas for the
I'm
front.
fine, work with staff,
Happy with.
have your team work with our staff and just come up with some good ideas, do a conference call, go over some items. That way you're not coming back and spinning wheels. We don't want you to do that as well.
Right.
You know, time is money, and let's come up with a proposal that we all make sense. Staff, we have a great staff, work with them, I'm sure they'll recommend things that they know that'll fly.
Make it look like the bottom one to the extent that you can. I mean, I can't say that enough.
I don't like the roof one.
And if you need some local architects that can do that for you, I can help you with that. Because I know 2 or 3 of them that,
Yeah, one in particular that I can think of off the top of my head. He's done amazing work.
Okay, so what's the,
so why did you like the bottom one more than the top one?
I
Forgetting
like
that,
the roof lines of the bottom one.
you do?
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too, but I like the
I think the
entrance
big
better on the bottom one.
expanses of ephes are also not really appealing to the eye. The big,
So the
squares.
ephes is what's kind of throwing this for a loop.
So generally speaking, we hate EFS with a passion, except typically sometimes where the sign goes, because we understand that signs change and EFS is a material that's easier to deal with. But EFS
It's an
isn't,
accent material. Yeah. Yep.
absolutely hate it. That doesn't mean that it has to be, Cream City brick, right? Or something. It means that there is a material, whether it's a metal or what's that, Ichiha stuff, something, is that what it's called?
Nichiha, yep. Yep.
Michiha, is that, something like that can go in there, right? Can't be vinyl siding. Can't be roofing shingles, right?
Is the concern primarily with the front elevation?
Yes. The elevation from the side isn't that visible. You will want to break that up a little bit, just because I think that's fine. Do you think that's fine, like that? I mean, it's the side of a building, in the back of the building. I'm not sure if that's where the entrance is gonna be.
Well, there's a lot of parking in the back. All their clients will be parking in the
Okay,
back.
so you're in the business of attracting people and, right? So whatever you do in the back, you probably wanna break up the back a little bit.
Yeah.
But that's not an expensive, it's not my money.
You're tearing
right?
off anyway, so I mean, to add a few windows in the back would probably make sense, because that's all new anyways.
Even if you had like a split face block on the bottom, that transition with a ledge, right? That transition is something above it.
A ledge makes a difference too.
It
yeah.
just helps you a little bit, right?
But where we're primarily talking on the back, based on the staff recommendations, is the color of the back, correct?
Oh, I said that a cheap way to add some variety is, maybe some horizontal lines, some
Okay.
variation in colors.
Okay.
You would, just something to break it up a little bit.
Sure.
And you can do that with split face block, going, transitioning with a ledge to unsplit, just flat block, right? Or something.
Yep.
And you can,
Do we have
you
to
can pay
come
one,
before the planning commission next month and do this again?
so what we could do, is so as far as the site plan itself goes, I don't think anyone has an objection
No.
to the layout.
Nope.
No.
We can, so this is where we trust you, right? I think staff is described sort of what would make the building look good. I think we've all kind of explained that.
So like a conditional approval, the condition being?
We can approve the site and landscaping plan and with regard to the facade and the building, subject to staff review. It'll be presented at the common council. So it's the same, it's just 5 different people that way. I don't vote, except in the case of a tie.
That's next week.
But I can tell you that one of their primary concerns is that they understand what this building was. They understand that this is the one shot that they have to make it look good for a very long time. They understand the trade-off with the parking, and there's sort of an expectation, despite the legal stuff, right? There's an expectation that it looks really good. And if you come forward with a building that looks really good, then you have a very good chance of success.
Would it make sense to present our next,
What would make sense,
at next week's meeting, or is that not the place?
I mean,
to
if you
present?
can pull it together conceptually and have elevations, right? As opposed to like a Sharpie, saying, well, right?
Right.
If you can have a professional drawing that passes, planning's muster, those folks, you can send it to me too, and and Alderperson Cassidy, we have quorum issues, we can't all sit down and discuss it.
Sure.
If you were to get that stuff to us quickly, like it's like lightning quick, that would be okay. And that's like Thursday
Right.
or Friday. And remember that we don't have staff of 50, we have Christie.
I'm
Okay?
off on Friday, just so you know.
So you probably want to be really nice to her to make sure that she displaces other work. I understand that you have a spring construction kind of thing going on, and, You have offers with contingencies probably and all that stuff. I get all that. So we're willing to work with you, but by the same token, I mean, what disappointed me about this is last month, the one thing that we said, and it was pretty much this same kind of conversation. You were there, Andrew, right? It was, everybody else was, right? And it just has to look good. And it doesn't really look good. Looks all right.
We had the same conversation about what we anticipated, different elements, and so this isn't a new conversation, same conversation. Now, I understand that person's not here anymore, and I get that. But is that something that's reasonable to pull that together the next couple of days, so you can get it approved next week at the common council?
Absolutely, I think so. I mean, I guess it's gonna come down to, are we, is what I'm picturing on the same page with what
So
you're picturing?
you've already demonstrated to me that you have a very good sense of style and a distinction between what looks good and what doesn't look good. So when there are two
Is that on
pictures,
the record?
it is on it. It's actually being broadcast to 8 billion people right now on
He's
YouTube.
talking
Did
about
you
the
know that?
picture in front of you.
So, yeah, it's hard to believe. Yeah, there you are. You can wave and stuff. But you know what looks good. The thing that would be sad, right, is you say, well, you know, they're gonna put it on and we'll just argue it there and we'll see what happens. I mean, that's usually not the best way to do it,
Right.
right?
Come with something you believe was gonna pass. I mean,
I,
that's what we want.
So
We
what city,
want to be
what city do you live,
successful.
what city do you live in? Where do you live?
Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh? I like, Pittsburgh's pretty cool.
I'm from North Pittsburgh.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I would never have pointed you. Just kidding, just kidding. Just kidding. Oops. No, I'm just kidding. The Packers beat the Steelers, didn't they? So that was good.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
no, but that's all we're looking for, right? So, the city that you live in, what would you want if you were driving by it every day?
Well, that's a trick question.
I don't know.
Because what I wouldn't want is a vacant Golf Galaxy, but
So would your first choice be like a retailer or a plasma center?
well, I could go on and on about the benefits of the plasma center
Yeah.
that you're not gonna see in retail, but I know that's not what you want.
No, I was a former college student that maybe once or twice visited a plasma center. You know, the clientele is sometimes can be challenging and things can be challenging, and I get all that, right?
I think in a lot of.
So the point is that even though it is a permitted use and it's subject to all sorts of caveats, they're associated there too, it has to look really good.
Right.
It has to look even better because maybe of its use.
Right.
So there isn't some sort of rejection, like, you know,
Work
an
with Chris-
antibody of the city kind of going, right?
Right.
Ba-dum-bum. Work
Yeah,
with
I know, I
Christie,
guess
yeah,
I
I got
had a
the
pun to
the
it,
pun.
didn't
right.
Does that
Work
make
with
sense?
Christie and-
Okay.
So, shall we?
Does you got it all written down? Do you have questions? This is like totally that everybody has to leave pretty soon. So questions.
I do not have any questions.
So what would the front be? Just so we're not, there's no, it would look really good. Something you'd be proud to drive by every day. And you've demonstrated that you can pick that.
With
nice
some
front out.
bump outs.
And
I
the
like
the
an
side is
entrance.
probably okay. I mean, right? Consistent with her comments, right? The visibility. The back, you probably break it up a little bit, so it's not one big tan wall.
Yep.
But those aren't expensive endeavors.
Right.
Is that right? Yes?
I hope I explained all of that in the conditions, so.
Yeah.
I think we captured it, and they have copies of this.
Is that fair? Okay.
I think we need to
We have to
act
do
on
a
it.
motion or anything?
Yeah, do you want to do it? Or I'll do it. I'll approve the site I'll approve the site landscaping and make the architectural plans conditional upon further staff review for BioLife Plasma Services, a proposed plasma collection center to be located at 7801 West Layton Avenue. It's consistent with the site plan that was presented this evening, not the last meeting. The minutes, as part of this motion, the minutes do, or the motion strongly reflects the comments that were made here this evening with regard to the architectural integrity of the front building and how critical it is for approval. The proposed developer has promised, is that a fair statement?
Yes.
To provide those plans in a timely manner to staff.
Close business Thursday because she's off Friday.
Sorry.
Well, that's, you might want to even do it faster, right?
Yeah.
Because she's going to look at it.
Right.
Okay.
I'm not so much worried about the color rendering. It's the color rendering and then the architectural plans
To
on
implement.
top of it to.
So
to match.
as long, yeah, I mean, I'm not expecting you to have fully drafted architectural plans. But I think we're all expecting that,
Idea.
the idea of what it looks like.
Definitely feel comfortable saying I can get you a better concept by Thursday.
So why didn't you do that ahead of time?
Well, again.
We had
We went
many
back and
days
forth.
of
Just
conversations.
kidding. All right, so,
All right, I'll
right.
second that motion.
did I?
I got
That
it.
was complete, right?
We have a motion and a second.
Second by, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. We're looking forward to it.
We are looking forward to it, and welcome to the city. This'll,
We'll make you proud.
you're a beautiful person, and,
Thank you.
and I love Pittsburgh. It's like,
Thank you.
it's a water
Appreciate
city,
your time.
like Milwaukee. Okay.
It's
Item
pretty good.
7, certified survey map to, that's where we're at, right? 7?
Number 7.
Certified survey map to combine 2 existing parcels located at 7915 West Allerton and 7917 West Allerton. I make a motion to approve.
Second. Oh,
Motion
Go ahead, Denise. I'll
by
second.
Helene, second by Collins, all in favor?
aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Development manager report, there isn't much, because everyone has to get going, but there is some big stuff potentially on the horizon.
Yes, there is, for sure.
Item 9, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Will there be any new items
6:47?
on next, next
47,
month's
second
plan
by
commission?
Weiss, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye,
Oh,
all
I
opposed,
didn't
motion
get any
carries.
motion.
Please
Sorry,
turn off
what?
your mics.
I'm sorry, what was the I didn't hear. Who motioned? Oh, okay. Thank you.